If you're curious about how to kickstart your multifamily and commercial real estate investing journey, look no further than today. I am thrilled to introduce the smartest and most mysterious commercial real estate investor that I have ever met. His name is Jonathan Wright. When I heard Jonathan speak at a JT conference in both Toronto and Montreal, I had to do a double take on how this Canadian Army veteran managed to funnel his bravery on the field of combat into the field of commercial real estate. And what you might find most inspiring from our conversation today are the following: how to get your first multifamily deal and how not to bite off more than you can chew. He goes into a lot of very humble detail here. It's amazing. Secondly, how to farm a specific area to find deal flow, which is the hardest part of a very competitive and increasingly competitive industry. Even if you're finding this out, in other words, a deal, from someone as unassuming in the community as the gardener. Everyone counts. Lastly, how to build and manage your dream team to make sure that this marriage-like relationship in starting a commercial real estate company or investing team becomes your biggest asset instead of your biggest headache in what is an already headache-filled industry. No joke, very important, and he gives a great perspective on it. So get present and get ready to transport yourself back in time as we kick the episode off with Jonathan's inspiring story. It's January of 2012 and you're facing a major setback. You just got injured in the military. Jonathan, take us there.
Well, going back to January of that year, life was pretty much going as normal as it was for me at the time. Just carrying out my normal duties in the Air Force. And all of a sudden, I got a back injury. So there was an impact that ultimately injured my lower spine. At the time, it didn't seem like much, and it just carried on with my day. And within about an hour, I had completely lost mobility and sensation in one of my legs. So I managed to get to my vehicle, get to the medical facility on base. They quickly rushed me into an X-ray and conducted a couple of ultrasounds initially. And over the course of the weeks that followed, discovered that I had a herniated disc that was putting pressure against one of the major nerves going down the side of the spine. And it was determined that because of this, my mobility might be restricted for the rest of my life. So I may no longer be able to walk again. And unfortunately, it limited my ability to do much of anything, whether it was playing sports, going to the gym, everything sort of changed in my life overnight. So at that point, my career took a sidestep. I was transferred to a more administrative role. I wasn't flying anymore. And I was trying to figure out what do I do next? Where do I go next? And the treatment over time managed to resolve the issue, but that took about 1.5 years. So there was a period there where I was going, well, I need to find some new way to push myself, because I'm the type of person that likes to grind, likes the constant push and, having my schedule filled with, different things to do. I don't do well just doing nothing. I'm not the type of person to sit on my front porch and just watch cars drive down the road. That to me is torture. I need to be constantly doing something. So when I was faced with that, I really had to look inside myself and go, okay, I need to find alternative ways to more effectively use my time to keep myself going. I started with education, learning as much as I could about as many different things as I could. And that really started me down the mindset of learning about the environment around me, whether it's focusing more on world events, even though they may not impact me in my own backyard. Everything that happens in a world has sort of a trickling effect in one way or another. You may not see it right away, but looking back, you can see how it happened in the past, and it will continue happening that way. So just educating myself in general. And by the time I left the military, again, as a result of the injury, I wasn't able to continue serving. So I retired from the military in August of 2015. I still had to find a new way to get out there and do something different. So I did start getting involved in the entertainment industry a little bit. And then all of a sudden I was presented with an opportunity to learn about real estate investing. And I wasn't super motivated to get involved. It was really my wife who pushed me because she realized I needed to go out there and do something. So right off the bat, I got educated very quickly, and within days of completing my education, offers were going out, and I started, getting involved in multifamily, and that's where I started. So my first acquisition was just a few months later, buying a 12-unit apartment building. And that was my first real estate acquisition, and it just continued to grow from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely see how you just repositioned your work ethic into something that, I think is potentially less of a grind because you can leverage your time. You're not trading time for dollars. You're not exposed to as much danger as you literally were in the military. So I love how you made that quick pivot. Talk more about that 12-unit apartment, just, I guess, the education you got and the quick active implementation. Where was that apartment? Tell us some of the quick things that you learned. Of course, lots of our entrepreneurs want to get exposed more into real estate, and maybe instead of starting with an Airbnb or a single detached or a condo, they go right to a 12-unit. Tell us whether you'd recommend that, and more importantly, what was your thinking? How'd you do it?
Well, first off, no, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for anyone, just because the larger real estate asset classes bring problems that scale with the size of the asset, right? So bigger properties mean bigger problems. But for me, it was an apartment building in the province of Nova Scotia, which is where I live. I live in Halifax. And it started off with an opportunity that came across my plate just with the relationships I was building at the very beginning of an asset that failed to close numerous times. And I saw the opportunity. I did the numbers, right? And I said, okay, I think I can make this work. But I didn't have the money. I didn't have the partners. I didn't have any of the resources. So I had to scram to put everything together within about 60 days. And it was run by mom and pop that really didn't have any handle on a property, didn't have any financials, which is why no one can get lending on it. And I was able, through the relationships that I built, ultimately close on the property. And that really comes down to the importance in real estate, that it's all about the relationships. And the common misconception that people have is real estate really has nothing to do with property. It's all about relationships. And you need to get that through your head right out the gate, because those relationships are going to be critical to you building a portfolio in the long run.
So context there, you go to this unit, it's unfinanceable in some ways. So you need money for the equity, the down payment. You need a lender to step in. The way you got first sniff of that property is there was a certain person who brought you in. So maybe it was a realtor. Why don't you talk about the key relationships from that deal that maybe you've now scaled across your portfolio?
Well, that particular relationship was a local realtor who I built a relationship very quickly with over about a 6 or 7 week period. And he saw that I had the knowledge and I had the motivation and really the gut to be able to go through with something like this, because it wasn't going to be an easy ride. So he presented with the opportunity. We drove to the property. You could see right away what the challenges would be. A lot of tenants didn't have leases. A lot of the units were not properly maintained. The property manager that was on site was stealing from the current owner, and it was evident just walking into the building how this was happening. So I was inheriting one heck of a mess. And I knew that if you manage to clean it up, if you manage to solve these problems, the value of the building would skyrocket very quickly. So now the problem became, okay, how are we going to manage to finance this? Because I didn't have the capital at all to do this. All of my capital had been tied into coaching, had been tied into getting the real estate knowledge necessary to get started. So I had to reach out to my contacts that I had built over the last several months. And through those contacts, was able to get in touch with a lender that was willing to fund 100% of the project. It was a hard money lender, 12% interest. And I managed to go in without spending a dime, basically using other people's money to acquire the asset. And then it was up to me to turn a property around in a 12-month period, which was the timeline on the loan, to then refinance their money out. And I was able to accomplish that. But it was a very, very steep learning curve, which is why I wouldn't necessarily recommend you start with something this big. Right. It's better to start smaller, get your feet wet a little bit, get used to the ground level problems, if that means anything, before you start elevating yourself to higher level problems.
Ground level meaning just the tenant management, the renovations,
basic renovations, things of that nature. When you're dealing with larger apartment buildings, you start learning about the importance of sprinkler systems, which you don't typically see in a duplex, but you will have to have them in modern apartments. And as soon as you start doing renovations, you start realizing the cost of sprinkler systems are considerably more than your typical plumbing. So there's additional levels of certification and approvals and inspections that go along with that. So there's a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily think are obvious until you get to that level. So it's better to start a bit smaller, get a handle on the smaller level problems before you elevate yourself to problems on a larger nature like this.
Are you feeling an energy lift after listening to Jonathan's insights? If so, here's an under 2-minute action step that you can take to get today into action. Who in your network has the capacity and complementary skills to help you farm an area and consistently take swings in the commercial real estate space? Chances are you already know them. So start farming your own relationships that you have worked likely your entire life to build. Here is an important moment to get out there and make some impact to both your wallet, your family, your community. Get after it. If you want more flow in your life design and entrepreneurial journey, reach out to us and inquire which of our guests, like Jonathan, may have room to coach you. We at Level Up Mortgages and this podcast are leading the charge to help good-hearted doers like yourself level up by investing in coaching, real estate, and any other social or physical environment that gives you both cash and life flow. Until next time, remember to take care of both your current and future self.